All right, okay, so this is the quote section. So the quote section on the test will have these exact quotes on there, and it's gonna have you do 3 things: identify who said it, explain the context or what is happening in the novel, and what it means / the significance, which is where the themes that we just talked about will come into play. So the first quote says, "I want to open myself. I want the light of God. I want the sweet love of Jesus. I danced for the devil. I saw him. I wrote in his book. I go back to Jesus. I kiss his hand. I saw Sarah Good with the devil. I saw Goody Osborne with the devil. I saw Bridget Bishop with the devil." Okay, so who said this?
Abigail.
Abigail, yes. So if you don't already have that written down, then you'll want to write down Abigail. And on here it talks about doing it in complete sentences. If you have written it in complete sentences, that's perfectly fine. I'm very proud of you. However, because it is online, it's going to be a little bit different. You'll see tomorrow. But this is all you need to know. The second thing is the context. So she didn't just say this randomly. Why did she say, "I want to open myself," and start kind of like, it's like a come to Jesus moment? Why does she do that? Or it's like in response to what?
Accusations towards her being accused of witchcraft.
Good, yeah. So specifically, after Tituba confesses to witchcraft and accuses Sarah Good and Sarah Osborne, Abigail then mimics her because she sees that now Tituba is going to be kind of let loose. So Abigail decides to mimic her and follows the same pattern of admittance and sudden enlightenment. So this is kind of her way of escaping. And then the third thing is the significance. So this is where you're going to see those themes to consider come into play. So with this quote specifically, what theme would you consider significant in this quote? It could be more than one too, so don't be afraid to take a guess. What's something that's kind of driving her admitting or her confessing? Like, you think she's feeling really good inside right now? How might she be feeling?
She's a liar, so she feels
Truth and
bad.
deceit is part
Truth
of
and
it.
deceit is a big one, right? Because this is like one of the initial lies. And then what else? Like, actual feeling wise, like, is she feeling like confident, or is she feeling another theme to consider?
Reputation.
Paranoid.
Oh.
Maybe. Okay, reputation then. See, okay, they truly overlap though, so I don't want you to stress. But for the sake of really diving into it, we'll focus on a few things. So you could definitely talk about reputation, but you see a lot of paranoia driving her confession. She's feeling very concerned about the potential condemnation and punishment ahead of her. And then the other thing is deceiving or lying to others in order to avoid punishment. So this is where that really comes in. Cool. All right, ready to move on to the next one?
Okay, can you say the significance to me is truth and deceit?
Deceiving or lying to others in order to avoid punishment. So the significance isn't so much plot-based and like action-based. It's more of what sort of patterns are we seeing in their behavior, or in like the Salem village. Okay, the next quote we're actually going to come to at the end. So we're going to actually go to the third quote now. Sorry to put a wrench in things. We're going to save this one for last because I'm actually not sure if y'all have enough time to do all of the quotes. So this would be the one I would potentially eliminate. I'll send out an announcement, but go ahead and just move to the third one.
So delete 2?
Yeah, skip 2 for now. And then go on to number 3, yeah. Plus, it'll shorten the video a little bit. If we need to cover it, we'll cover it tomorrow. Alright, so the third quote says, "If the girl's a saint now, I think it is not easy to prove she's fraud, and the town gone so silly. She told it to me in a room alone. I have no proof of it." Who said this? John Proctor. Alright, and what is the context of him saying this? Do y'all remember who he's talking to? Elizabeth? Not one of the judges, what'd you say? Elizabeth, yeah, so the context of him saying this is John and Elizabeth Proctor are discussing what's going on. So they're discussing the witch trials. Elizabeth pleads for John to expose the girls as frauds to the court. So she's like, well, if they're fake, just go tell him. And he's like, but it was in a room alone, so he's hesitant. So if that's how he discovered it, what might be an idea to consider for the significance? Why would John be hesitant to say that he heard the truth in a room alone?
Because that would imply, adultery.
Yeah, which would affect his what?
Reputation.
Yeah, So, wouldn't it just be so much easier if he would have done that from the beginning though? Wow. So it's kind of like, he was actually the reason. It's like, who actually was the reason why everyone got killed? Well, you could point back to John, honestly. So I guess to consider, there's a handful of them. Again, with English, there's always things you can really prove, but we're just gonna focus on these. So, first of all, the hysteria that everyone is feeling and concern is starting to override truth in the community. So this is another instance where we see hysteria trumping truth. And then the second one, which is a big one, is John Proctor's reputation and good name in the village. Obviously, his name would be soiled for life if he knew he was having an affair. And then the last one isn't as key, it's just kind of another thing we see is fear of condemnation. So, fear of judgment, but also fear of potentially being severely punished. So how it will work on the test is there'll be a quote, right? It'll say quote number 1. And then there'll be a drop down for quote number 1A. And then you drop down, choose the character. And then number 2 and 3, it will be more of a multiple choice. I'm still working on formatting, but a multiple choice where you're having to pick which one fits best. All right, 4th quote. But you must understand, sir, that a person is either with this court or he must be counted against it. There be no road between. This is a sharp time now, a precise time. We no longer live in the dusky afternoon when evil mixed itself with good and befuddled the world. Now, by God's grace, the shining sun is up, and and them that fear not light will surely praise it. I hope you will be one of those.
Judge Danforth.
Yes, so Judge Danforth said this. Good, and because we kind of see some of that language where he's either with this court or against it. Really, it's either him or Reverend Paris who would say this. All right, this one kind of has a lot of information for context, but why was he saying this? What was going on at the time?
Basically, if you stand with us or stand against us, meaning if you were against us, then you will not succeed. Good. That's good context. More specifically, this is whenever he says this. So Danforth is speaking to Francis Nurse. Because Francis Nurse comes in, the town is concerned now, right? Because 3 women, important women, have been accused. And they're actually reputable. So that's Elizabeth, Martha Corey, and Rebecca Nurse, which is his wife. So Danforth speaks to Francis after he hands over the deposition with 91 names on it. Although the people petitioning for the protection of Elizabeth
Martha and Rebecca are covenanted Christians. Their innocence is questioned as this is an objection against the court. So that's when Danforth says, you must understand that there's no gray area here. Like, if you're not for us, then you're against us, and yeah, it's not gonna look too good for you. Y'all are doing a great job. So going back to themes to consider, when you think of that list of like 5 things, what is something we see here in this quote? Like, what's something that you could consider significant in this quote? So there's paranoia, hysteria, reputation, religious intolerance, and like truth/deceit.
Sorry, we're trying to finish this, like, get it all typed out.
You're good. I'm just, the only reason I'm just going kind of fast for the video. Martha and Rebecca? Oh, sorry, I know that's kind of blocking. So between the themes to consider, paranoia, hysteria, reputation, religious intolerance, and truth/deceit, what do you see the most in this quote?
Hysteria.
Coming from his perspective, he doesn't seem to be very paranoid.
Reputation? He's not really.
Possibly, you can make a case for it, but which one is the most applicable on that list?
Oh,
It's a lot about religious intolerance.
Religious intolerance, yes, I was like, I know y'all can get this. I'm not afraid of waiting a long time. Religious intolerance, yeah, because he talks about this is a sharp time, a precise time. There's no road in between. You see that strict ruling happening here in his words, and lack of acceptance, like in a lot of areas. Can y'all see that? Okay, I'll scoot it up. Okay, so I did write Danforth's idea of justice, which I wouldn't consider that the most important thing. I mean, those are his ideas of justice, but that would be religious intolerance/legalism. And if you've never heard the word legalism, it's kind of exactly what it implies, which is that rules that you make are like the law. Like, there's no way around it. You must adhere to it. There's no exceptions. That's would be like Baptists who still don't dance.
Scary.
That's very legalistic. I'm sorry if you have different beliefs, but my grandparents were some of those people. They're better now. They're better now. Hopefully they don't want you to. Okay, so religious intolerance/legalism, and the bell is gonna ring in 1 minute. I'm gonna go ahead and put it up for this online poll, and we can talk about it tomorrow.